Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker-Hagan, and I'm so delighted to be here with you. It is 22, and whatever is going to happen this year, it is up to you. I have my co-hosts along with me.
And good evening and happy new year 2022. I'm excited. Listen, yesterday is gone, and this is a new day. This is a new year. This is a new time. This is a new opportunity. And I'm telling you, listen, we're grabbing the bull by the horn from the very beginning, and we're walking it out because in 2022 is up to you.
It is absolutely up to us, Dr. J. You know what? The key to success is action. We have to take action if we want to get to the next level. I have my book, Unlimited Possibilities Walking in Purpose, and that is available to you on my website, fromthesoulafofawoman.com. And I encourage you to purchase that book so that you can walk out 2022. Because one of the things people fail to do when they have dreams is act on it. Everybody wants to be successful, everyone wants to be known, everyone wants to be great in their own right. They don't want to look at people on television and say, wow, that person is great. Look at the sacrifices they made and how they got to where they got to. You know, we talk about that all the time, looking at other people, and then we look in the mirror at ourselves and say, ah, why couldn't I do that? I had that thought. Why didn't I just put it to action? So, whatever is going to happen, this is your season. This is your time. 2022 is up to you. We want you to walk in greatness. We want you to walk in the power that the Lord intended for you to walk in. But we have to get ourselves together. We have to get it together, Dr. J.
Yeah, we have to reframe the way we see ourselves, the way that we see life. We have to be very honest with ourselves. Things doesn't change just because the calendar says it's now 2022. People right now, even on this 11th day of the new year, some people are having 2021 hangover. They're still stuck there. It's a hangover from 2021. What must happen is a shifting of mindset, a willingness to give yourself permission to change. You said something a few minutes ago about sacrifice. We all can be inspired with an idea. We all can have a vision. We all can even imagine seeing ourselves in certain places. What we tend to get stuck at is that we cannot imagine the process or the sacrifice. See, the
Mhm.
sacrifice to get there, meaning there are some intentional things that we do. There are some deliberate things that we do. There is some very, if you would, very strategic things that we have to do in order to get there. And which means this, that we have to be willing to move ourselves out of the way, meaning bad ideology, bad company, bad vibes, bad environment, in order to shift the atmosphere so that we can begin to work on ourselves. And if we are willing to do those things, if we're willing to do as you just said, put into action, if we're willing to put one foot in front of the other, we can begin to achieve those dreams. And guess what? It begins now. It doesn't have to all take place in one moment. Matter of fact, it won't, because achieving our dream is not a magic wand.
It's a
No,
process.
it's a process, and we must be willing to walk through that process. And one of the things that and I know you are a perfect example of it, is that inside of that process, we have to also be cognizant of who's in our life, what people are in our lives, understanding the intersections of what happened. Nothing happens by coincidence. I like to say that God is not a God of coincidence. He's not a God of accident. He's a God of providence. So the thing about it, while we're working on these dreams, while we're working on the new us, while we're working on it, we must be cognizant of the people who are around us that are in our lives, because the fact there are people that are sent into our lives for seasons, for reasons. There are people that are sent into our lives right now that could be the difference between what our second step is and our third step. So that goes back to, once again, watching who's around us, our attitudes toward it, and always keep an open mind that, listen, I am moving forward. Whatever you do, don't get stuck. Move forward.
You know, the other thing, Dr. J, first and foremost is we have to be healthy if we want to
Yeah,
be wealthy to the capacity where we're a blessing not only to ourselves and to our family, but to the individuals and people of the world. If the doctor tells us we have high blood sugar, why are
mhm,
you eating candy bars? Why are you drinking sodas? Simple
absolutely.
things that we can do to help ourselves. They tell you have high cholesterol. Stop eating fried foods. Let go of some of the cheeses, things that have a lot of cholesterol in it. We have to be cognizant of the things that we're taking and consuming into our body if we want to make it to the next level. Yes, we're dealing with COVID, and yes, the depression is on at an all-time high, but there's simple things that we can do to empower our bodies, because when our bodies are healthy, our mind is healthy, where
Mm.
we're able to think and to focus on those things that we want to do. So simple things, if you're doing have high cholesterol, high blood sugars, exercise, eat live foods like salads. You're lactose intolerant, there's almond milk. You can make smoothies with that. And exercise, drink plenty of water. That's what the doctor ordered. Always water, water, water. It is the life
Always.
of our body is water, always. So if you're going to do the exercise, drink plenty of water. And then I'm telling you, when I exercise, my husband bought me a little one of those stationary bikes.
Look at there.
And I've had it for a couple of years. And when I got it, I was like, oh yeah, this is good. And I was on it every day. And then he moved it.
Oh,
And when he moved it, I lost focus.
yeah,
I didn't see it there like, oh, I got to get on their bike, because he shifted something. And that's what happens in our lives sometimes. Things shift and it gets us off focus and we derail in life sometime. And it's hard for us to get back on it. And then he moved it again. He
mhm,
took my bike and moved it again, said, oh, you're not using it. I said, well, because you moved it. Then he moved it outside on the patio under the gazebo and said it'll be better if you rode it out there, because of the fact that it's nice and beautiful out there. The sun is shining and you could just ride your bike out there in the morning. Well, here's the thing. In order for me to get on my bike and ride it outside under the gazebo, I have to unlock the sliding glass door, go out on our patio and do that. I'm not doing that. I have to lift the curtains up, pull the thing back. So little things can derail us
yeah.
and make us break focus. So that bike, I think I rode it maybe about 10 times last year when it was out there on the patio. I've ridden it almost every day since he bought it back. And he says, babe, you're gonna when you getting back on your bike? I said, when you getting back on yours? And he said, well, what is it gonna take for you to get back on yours? I said, bring it back inside where it was. And when he put that bike back inside where it was, because he was like, because he moved it in the first place, because we were having
Right.
company and he didn't want it disrupting in our living space. People have to see the bike and thing. And I'm like, this is my house. I live in it. We live in it. So, people come visit, they can see the bike and there, if anything, it may motivate them to get on the bike
Exactly
too.
right.
But because he caused a shift in my life, it distracted me from getting on my bike and exercising.
Wow.
So it's easy. But the point I'm trying to make is yes, there are several distractions that'll keep us from living and walking out our purpose, but it's not a permanent situation. It's only
Exactly.
temporary.
Exactly. Yeah, what a beautiful analogy, because the fact life will have shifts. Life will shift things inside of it. And what sounds so interesting is that you start off very motivated, just like people have in 2022. They start off motivated, they're filled with hopes and dreams and New Year's resolution, new gym memberships, and all those things there. And then the process start. You start going. And the first part of it is really the power of the mind, the power of the imagination. And I'm doing it, and I got there. And some people, they're motivated because they have gym outfits and gym clothes, and it looks good. And then a week passes, and You have to find something that goes beyond just, if you would, the magic of the moment or the way the outfit looks and those things there. And so, in doing so, it goes back to that keyword discipline, right? Discipline. And discipline is hard for most of us. Discipline, but I believe in one of the thoughts that Jim Rohn said. He said, in life we will all face two constant pains: the pain of regret or the pain of discipline. He said the difference is that the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of
Mm,
regret weighs tons. And that's the thing about it. I always remember that, because the fact, when we don't succeed, when we don't reach that goal, when we don't do what we need to, guess what? The regret weighs tons. However, the discipline, the sweat, what it took to get to where you need to might have been uncomfortable for a moment, but look at what it yields at the end result. And it goes back to what you were saying, even when you talk about healthy eating. We really have to get there. You would think in the time of COVID 19, and I know depression is up and all those things there, but you know what? Although it's hard for people to understand it these days because we have cameras everywhere. You know what I say?
everywhere.
We have cameras on our phones and all those things. But the old picture, when a photographer took the picture, it was developed in the dark room. It became what it was going to be in the dark room. And that's the way we have to shift our mindset, even in today's pandemic, inside of life situations and circumstances. We may be in the dark room, but that's when we are developed most, in the dark room. So while we are in the dark room of this pandemic, while we're in the dark room of things that are in shortage and lack, while we're in the dark room, let's focus our attention so that we can develop. Because listen, once that picture comes out of the dark room, it is developed. There you go. So who you are and who you're destined to be could be taking place right now in the midst of your dark situation, in the midst of a time that you can't see as clearly as you did once before. And when you come out, we're going to see a different product. We're going to see something there, because I believe this. I believe that perspective is everything. Perspective and perception is everything. How do I look at life situation? Is it half full or is it half empty? Am I almost, am I just totally wiped out, or I'm just beginning? And I think that we have to frame that in the right way, because if we don't frame it the right way, we will use the very thing that was meant to develop us. It'll become our excuse. It'll become our obstacle. It'll become the reason why we can't. And so in 2022, when we talk about it's up to you, we've got to have good self-talk. We've
Mm-hmm.
got to have good pep talk. We have to have good quiet time. We have to have good time with ourselves to continue to keep our goals ahead of us, because it's not going to happen next year. It begins today. It begins today. And every morning we wake up, we keep saying what? It begins today. And we continue to make those steps toward it. Because at the end of the day, we don't know who we are. We only know who we've become so far.
Yes.
Who we've become so far.
Yes.
But what happens when we put in the work? What happens? We uncover, we reveal something. Something is revealed. That's a Greek word called apocalypto. And the word means to unveil, to reveal, to open up unto us. It's kind of like the same words that Jesus said to Peter when he said, "Thou art Christ, the Son of the living God." He said, "Look, flesh and blood has not revealed or apocalypto that to you, but our Father which is in heaven." And what we have to understand is that when we're willing to put in the work, when we're willing to push ourselves, our friend Les often say that we got to be willing to go where other folks aren't going and do what other folks are not doing in order to accomplish what we need to. When we are willing to put in the work, then guess what? We put in that work and stay disciplined enough, there'll be something that will be revealed to us real soon. And that's where the work goes. We have to keep pushing, because in 2022 is up to you.
Well, you know what is it's interesting you brought up that quote by Les. It's like it says, in order to be successful, you must be willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others
Yeah.
won't have. And I was looking at an interview with Sidney Poitier and Oprah Winfrey, and she
Yeah.
also interviewed Cicely Tyson, and it was I was so in awe of both of their lives because of the fact that I grew up watching them, and then
Yeah.
to spend time with Cicely Tyson in a meeting we was in. Actually, was responsible for her to protect her during the event that we had, and to just be in the presence. It was like, I mean, it was royalty. And
Absolutely.
I look at their lives and the sacrifices that they made for us. And do you know, Dr. J, a lot of children in this generation have no idea of the legacy that these individuals left us, the sacrifices they made, the things they had to go
Yeah.
through in order for, you know, millions of people to watch Black Americans on stage, on screen, to be able to go and fill out concert halls, to be able to pack out a movie theater. It was never heard of. Ever
Not at all.
heard of. They were like the first Black people on screen of excellence that we actually admired. Sidney Poitier was the first African American to be in a leading role with a white woman.
Yes.
Who would have thought about that, where they were lynching
Right.
our men for even speaking to a white woman, and yet he was on the big screen working as a leading man. The sacrifices that were made to open up the eyes of the people to see, to say that we are all human beings, we all bleed the same blood. How powerful a statement was that back in that era?
The trailblazers. They were the trailblazers. They were the one. And see, this generation, they freely watch networks and see black actors and black actresses like it's no big
Like
deal.
it's no
But
big deal.
but the reality is, your Sidney Poitier, your Cicely Tysons, and we can go on and on. Your Harry Belafontes, and even be back in those times. These individuals were the ones who really paid the price and opened up the door for that to happen. We talk about your Diana Ross and things inside of music, performing in places where at one time was totally segregated. It could not happen. And so when we see those type of individual, they had more than just talent. And that's what our people need to understand today. It was more than just talent. There are plenty talented people, but they had the intestinal fortitude. They had the resiliency to press against the grain. Because one of the things that we understand is this, that even a dead fish can flow downstream.
Wow,
A dead
that's
fish
true.
can float downstream, but it takes a live one to float against the stream and to swim upstream. And so many people today, because they don't understand the sacrifice that was there, many of them are riding the waves of the sacrifices of others. But the problem is, too many are being dead fish. They're
Mm.
just going where life takes them, and they're not willing to put the sacrifice in to swim upstream. We have never seen change happen without people being willing to swim upstream, to go against the grain, to be able to do the things that they did. And we're talking about, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about Martin Luther King Jr., we're talking about Abraham Lincoln, or whoever, the Sidney Poitiers of the world. And Dr. Val, when I got the news of his passing, I was saddened because as a boy, I don't know why I thought about this as a boy, because I was so enamored with him. I said, it's going to be a sad day when he dies. As
Mm.
a boy, I still remember myself saying, it's going to be a sad day when he died. As a little boy, I was very intrigued by things. Sammy Davis Jr., I would say, boy, it's going to be a sad day when he dies, because I understood the gravity of the moment.
Yes.
Understood the
Yes.
gravity of the moment. There was no BET back then. There was no network where we could just turn on television and see positive black people and people in a leading role. Not at all. That's why we love comedy so much. We love that because the fact, if nothing else, they always would laugh at us, even if they wasn't laughing with us. So we
Mm.
stood on stage and we could see comedy all the time. Same thing with entertainment. But when it came to being on that big screen, we understood that was an art. That was an art. That was the ability to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time and make things happen. So I think that's the reason why I embraced it. So when I would see black men and black women in leading roles, and we appreciate it. These days and time here, I wonder how many people really are willing to put in the work, the real work, not just a mimicking of what they've seen, but the real work to be able to press their way in and be willing to go upstream, go against the grain in order to make things happen and create change for others.
Mm. You know, I was thinking while you were talking about the different levels that God has blessed me. You know, the Word of God talks about Him taking us from glory to glory. And I remember going through the divorce and how hard it was raising four children and didn't know what my next steps would be. But I kept pushing, I kept persevering because I knew that where I was wasn't where I wanted to stay.
Yeah.
So the only way to shift from being in that position was to keep it moving. And I
Yeah.
remember every day going to work and driving in that beat up old Dodge Omni that I had that I could see my feet through the floor. And the
Flintstone.
car was
Meet
just
the
riding
Flintstone.
Jimmy like this. I said, I know there's gotta be better. And the only way for me to do better and to get better is to keep pressing forward. And you know, my boss that I had at the time, I never said a word, never told him was going through a divorce, and never told him how hard it was. You know, he knew I had four kids, he knew I was married, but didn't know I was going through a divorce. He didn't know the financial ruins I was in at the time, but I was faithful. I kept going to work every day. I did my job. You know, four kids, you think, oh, I'll be calling in sick all the time. I'll be late every day. I was
Yeah.
never late to work. I was always there on time, and I even worked overtime.
Yeah.
And I learned everything I needed to learn on that job from the principal of the companies, meaning the presidents of the company. And I
Yes.
became their right hand, and they put me in charge of their staff. When they
Yes.
weren't there, I was in charge. Now, I was only the only woman of color. And most of the time, I was the only woman. And he put me in charge to run his office when he wasn't there. And I remember when the company folded up and closed down, Dr. J, my boss said to me, his name is Ben Wilner, he said, I'm going to dissolve the company. I'm getting too old. I can't continue on. But you've been faithful. Your work ethics are, you know, I've never worked with anyone like you before. And you can actually do this business. It was greeting cards. It was a greeting card company. And I had a heart and passion to do Christian greeting cards, but their greeting cards were regular generic greeting cards. I said, well, you know, I would like to do a Christian line of greeting cards. And he says, well, what would you call it? I said, faithfully yours. I don't know where it came from. I just said it,
Wow.
faithfully yours. And he says, okay. And next thing I know, a couple of days later, he called me in the office. He says, you know, I told you we're going to, you know, dissolve the company. He says, I've set up the corporation for you. I've trademarked faithfully yours for you.
Wow.
And we're going to pay for you to be in this office for a year. And I will give you your salary every week. He said, make it work. That was my first business.
Wow.
And it came about because I was loyal.
Yes.
I was loyal. I was dependable. And see, these are foundations that I learned on building my own business. You know, some people go to work and be like, oh, I don't even want to be here. Well, you know, you're at that job because you chose the job. But with me,
Absolutely.
I didn't have a choice. I knew that my children couldn't eat if I wasn't working because I didn't want to rely on the system. I wasn't going to be there on, you know, food stamps, government assistance and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you go transition, is just don't stay there. You're more
Absolutely.
than that. Just don't stay there. Build yourself up because it used to be the program called welfare the work, and the
Yeah.
purpose of that was okay, transitioning you to move up the ladder, but it was up to you to make it happen, just like this year right here,
Mhm.
2022. whatever is going to happen this year, it is up to you to take action. And it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be hard. Life is hard.
Yeah.
We get curveballs all the time. We never know when they're coming, but we have to stay focused. We have to press our way. And they were like, well, you know what? It's hard. Nobody in my family was ever successful. I come from a long line of nobody doing nothing, so, it's in my DNA to never be anything, never move forward. Well, generation curses are a sign of ignorance. It's inherited ignorance.
Yeah.
Whatever man believes, whatever man thinketh, so he is. So you have to start saying to yourself, I'm more than that, I'm greater than that, and then put in the work to shift to that next level. If you're not happy with the job you have, then find another job. And it's like, well, it's not that easy because I've been all these years at this job. And then, okay, well, stay at that job so that you can get your retirement if that's what makes you happy. But find a niche or something to do on the side to generate additional income. What is that purpose? What is that thing that you want to do that you spend your day and night twisting and turning about? You can do it while you work. When I first started working with Les Brown, I had a full-time job.
Right.
And I was afraid. I didn't have the courage to just walk away because I didn't know who this man was. And a lot of celebrities are fly by night. They'll leave you hanging. They'll promise you all this stuff and then nothing happens. But even in that, I never ever relied on him being my only source. I relied on God being my source. And I remembered
Yeah.
how he took me from one step to another and how he blessed me to start my first business. Because I said, well, if everything else fails, I know I have a trademark, faithfully yours, that I can build on. I could always go back to that because his trademark is mine. So that was something that this Jewish man gave me. He sold it into my life purpose.
Dr. Val, you said something that is so important, and I want to make sure people don't miss it because you spoke to really what we call core values. Your loyalty, your dedication, your commitment in doing what you were doing at the time and space that you were doing it. I'm going to say it
Right.
again. Your loyalty, your dedication, your commitment, your faithfulness in doing what you were doing at the time that you were doing. We understand that every season in our life is not necessarily permanent. We also understand that every job in our life is not necessarily permanent. But what makes it different is what is the attitude that we demonstrate while we're doing it. Whatever we do with all our might, with all our mind, we ought to do it unto the glory of him. In other words, be the best that you are inside of doing it. It was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that talked about the fact that, listen, whatever you do it well. If you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper that you can be. That the very angels in heaven can be saying, there goes the best street sweeper it is. When we spend our energy, even inside of opportunity, because we ought to learn when we're on a job. Yeah, we ought to learn the ins and outs of it. We ought to learn why we do certain things. I tell people all the time, well, maybe you're working as a stock person or a stock person at Walmart or wherever. Then you need to learn the ins and outs. Why is stock coming in? Why are they reordering? Understand what it means to say reorder points, what it is to talk about purchasing. All of these things are important. So now I don't see my job as just pulling boxes and stacking boxes. Understand supply and demand. I learned principles that I can apply. What you did was the demonstration. In other words, your core values actually open the door for you. Here's something important to remember in 2022. While you're at the place that you're at, be the best that you can be. Because
Exactly.
somebody is watching you. Somebody is watching you. In your case, your boss observed your action, not your complaints, your action, not your, what I'm going through, but your action. And it's amazing that too often people want something for nothing. Well, demonstrate the fact of the core value. You knew what drove you is that you had children you had to take care of. What drove you, you understood that if you didn't do it, it wasn't happening for them. So guess what? Rather than complain, you made yourself loyal, you made yourself available, you made yourself dedicated, you made yourself committed. And guess what? Your boss watched you. And when he came to a decision that I'm going to hang it up, but I noticed you. You have what it takes to do so, and then open a door of opportunity, the door of opportunity. And that's what 2022 is about. That's what really going on to the next step is about. We have to remember this. We can't just simply get excited about the opportunity. We must get excited as well about the process. See, some
Exactly.
people right now, they're on their little high. Some of them, like I said, it's just they're sputtering already. 11 days in, they're sputtering. Why? Because they got excited about the idea of a new year in 22, but you must be just excited about the application, just excited about the process, just excited about that. Because when I get excited about that, when I begin to put in the elbow grease and put in the sweat equity, now I know that I'm moving towards something. And that's what it's all about. Be willing to do so, but you cannot abandon those core values. Those core values of dedication. And I say that often. I don't want to indict young people when I say this, but a lot of people want something for nothing. They went to work
Mm,
3 days and told my man, I don't like this job, man. Well, no, are you kidding me? You don't know nothing about the job yet. You haven't studied anything about it yet. Have you studied the habits? Have you observed the habits of what's there? We understand that the secret to one's success can be found where? In their daily routine. So you have to ask yourself what your daily routine looks like. What are you doing? Does your morning begin with you complaining? Does your morning begin with saying, oh God, I ain't get up out of this bed? Does your morning begin with trying to find an excuse not to move forward? Or does your morning begin with a fresh new start? Hello world. Because the thing I love about it, that every day I wake up, what I do realize is it's a fresh day. It's a fresh day. It's a fresh mercy. It's a fresh anointing. I'm telling you, when I lay down tonight, whatever problems, whatever situation that I've faced on this night, on this day, whatever thing that have happened this day, it dies with tonight. Why? Because yesterday ended last night. And that's what we have to look at. My yesterday ended last night. That's why I'm waking up, new attitude. I am ready to go forth because you know what? I'm more tired of where I am than to be discouraged by where I'm going. I'm more
woo,
tired of where I am than to be discouraged for where I'm going. So now I got to put in the elbow grease and keep moving forward. That's what you did. And so and so. Think about it. It's almost scriptural, you know. And it talk about and men will see your good work and
yes.
glorify your father.
And
Which
glorify.
they saw your good work. Your good work was a reflection of even your honor and to the Father. See, even the gifts, the talents, and abilities that we have, the talents that we have, it's not just some folks take talents and they think it's meant to flaunt.
Mm-hmm.
Flaunt. Man, that's not the purpose of your talent. It's not the purpose of your gift. But I'm telling you, if you take your gift, your talent, and do whatever you do it with honor. Do it with the fact that it's a reflection of what I believe in. See, I might not have right now, but that doesn't stop me from working toward and to reflect what I believe in. Listen, I believe in excellence. I believe in riches if I don't even have them. I believe in that. So let me reflect that because I believe that what we work toward and reflect is what we will also draw.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key principle that we have to look at.
Yeah, the word is absolutely positively true that he will take you from glory to glory, but
Mhm.
you have to be moving towards there. He's not going to
Yes.
use anybody that just sitting there talking about, here I am on this job here and drag and anything. It's not like that. It's like you have to actually put in the work. And in order to put in that work, you have to be willing to do the things today others won't do. What are you talking about? You don't have to do anything degrading? No, no. You have to sacrifice a lot of things in order to be great. You have to sacrifice things in order to stay focused. You have to sacrifice things in order for a shift to occur in your life. It takes dedication and it takes sacrifice. It takes focus. It didn't just happen to me one time when one boss blessed me. When that job phased off, I went into another job and that boss did the same thing. That job phased off, I went into another job. That boss did the same thing. Matter of fact, the last job I had before I started working with Les Brown, I told you I didn't have the courage to walk off of that job.
Right.
And it was multiple municipal listing. It was a printing company. And I ran the whole office there. And the boss came to me and she said, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Was I supposed to have the day off?" And she says, "Why are you here?" I said, "What do you mean?" I really didn't understand your question because, matter of fact, I had the nice office with the cherry wood furniture, the big desk and the
My,
chair, and everything was it was elaborate office, and I'm sitting there, and she's sitting on the other side from me. You know, she's my boss, and I'm sitting here in the executive room, and she says, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well," she said, "You are too talented to be here." And I said, "What?" She says, "You are too talented to be here." What was she saying to me? She recognized that there was something in me, even though she didn't know what it was. She knew
yeah,
that God had more for me. Rather, she recognized that there was a Godhead, there was a deity or whatever, but she recognized that there was more. And she said, "My talents were being wasted there." So this is what she said to me. She said, "We're going to break for, for this break. They always took 2 weeks off in the summer to close down. The whole office closed down for 2 weeks in the summer. They did their family cruise or whatever." She says, "I'm gonna give you those. You're gonna have those 2 weeks vacation, and I'm gonna give you another 2 weeks, so you will have a whole month. Find something else." I'm like, "So I'm being fired? Are you firing me?" She says, "No, I'm not firing you. I'm allowing you to go so you can find what it is you're supposed to be doing because you're too talented to be here." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, "Hey, I got this nice office. My bills are being paid. I'm working part time with Julia Brown doing gospel plays down there in Miami. I was doing that on the side. Then I started booking Les Brown. I was doing that. Hey, this was a cushion job. It had insurance. You got four
yes.
kids. I needed insurance."
Benefit.
And she talk about, "You too talented to be up in here." I'm like, oh, it was terrifying.
Yes.
And purpose is terrifying at times when you don't understand it. You know there's more mentally in your intellect, you know it's there, but actually taking that step to move forward to that next position, it is frightening. And like I said, I got 4 kids, it was just me and them. And I said,
Yes.
if I fail, oh my God, what is this going to do? But then she said to me, "I'll give you a month with pay. And if you
Wow.
don't find anything, you can come back, but you won't
My,
be." But she said to me, "But you won't be back."
wow.
And I didn't go back.
Isn't it amazing? You was literally pushed into your purpose. You was literally pushed beyond your comfort because,
Yes.
like you said, when you look at all the things that you had there, the beautiful office, the cherry wood furniture, the benefits, and all those things there, and you were rolling, you were fine, but you were comfortable. You were comfortable where you were, and all the trimming, and that's what happens to us sometimes. The trimmings of comfort and familiarity literally becomes the enemy to our progress.
Yes.
I'm going to say that again because comfort and familiarity really becomes the enemy to really destiny and pursuit thereof. I know that comfort and familiarity, I can depend on this. I know this is a sure thing. I'm going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I'm going to get that. And so the familiarity of it keeps us in this restricted box. It does not allow us to find or to expand to our full self. She gave you an opportunity to expand to your full self by taking the limits off of you and saying, hold it, you're constricted right now to this beautiful office that you love. You're constricted right now to these things here. But what happens when you no longer have these restrictions and you understand that the world is larger than the pond that you're in? And that's what happens so often to all of us. Sometimes we become comfortable where we are because we're just a big fish in a small pond. But when we are going to grow and expand, guess what? Now we're no longer in a pond, we're in a lake. And guess what? It looks like it's so vast. Rather than getting scared, rather than becoming fearful, rather than retreating. We need to understand that simply means there's more room to grow. There's more
Yes.
room to swim. There's more room to advance. And we have to shift our perspective. And when we shift our perspective, we will shift what's inside of us. Because I'm telling you, I believe there are dreams inside of us that's waiting to be birthed. There are things inside of us that is waiting to get out. There are ideas that glory. Listen, that if we don't begin to shift those things and stir those things there, they're going to die. They're going to die inside of us, and we don't need them to die. They need to be given birth. They need to be given birth, because whatever we're holding on to, we're robbing the world of having it. Whatever we're
Absolutely.
holding on to, we are cheating ourselves and cheating those around us from having it. And you said something earlier that really stood with me. You talk about people who continue to obey their limitations based upon their experiences. Well, everyone in my family, you don't understand, that's just the way we are in our family. Listen, don't you dare sit there and embrace the generational curses and failures of your past. Don't you go and polish up the generational curses and the failures of your past. You got to break that spirit. We talk about epigenetics, where we're talking about factly, it is almost like an imprint of your past, an imprint of the things before you. You got to break it, and you got to accept the fact, I am the one that will break that. I am the one that will come out. I am the one that will succeed. I am the one that will. Why not me? And when we take on that attitude, it shifts things, it changes things. And the last thing I want to say that is so important, so often when we are finally making the steps forward, what happens is this: we look too early and too quickly and too frequently for an amen corner.
Yeah.
Don't look for folks to applaud your success when you're just starting out of the door. You've got to keep working behind the scene, keep working behind the scene. And believe me, the new you, what you're becoming, the development of what you're meant to be, listen, when it unveils itself, all will know that you're not the same anymore.
That's
All will
right.
know.
That's right, Dr. J. It is so easy for you to look at your limitations
Yes,
and not the possibilities,
yes,
especially when you feel like you're suffocating where you are. It is very hard to look at the limitations. Well, can't move. Can't talk. I can't see. I can't hear. It's always easy to look at things like that. But if you push yourself forward, the possibilities are limitless. We're
yeah,
walking in unlimited possibilities. We have everything that we need and everything that we have inside us to get to the next level. So if here is all there was for you, then you wouldn't be feeling so uncomfortable. Like I know there's more. I'm uneasy. I'm not resting properly. It's because there is more. Stop
yeah.
looking at the limitations and see the possibilities. And the greatest way for you to take a shift right now is stop thinking about you and start focusing on what it is that you have that the world needs. Because if you're in alignment with an assignment that God has on our life, first of all, we all have an assignment, even if it's for one person. If our assignment is to meet one person, we have an assignment. So it's not about you. If you want to be able to enlarge your territory, your vision has to be a lot greater. You can't just stay focused on yourself, because if you stay focused on yourself, you just think about me, myself, and I, and the limitations are going to always be there. But when you envision yourself being great, soaring to another level, when you see yourself expanding and people coming to you and validating you and undergirding you financially, then you'll know you're in the right spot. But it
You
takes
know,
work, it takes focus, it takes dedication, it takes loyalty, it takes a lot of things that's encompassed with being good, not being bad. Don't be trying to go around and be a shyster and take the shortcut to get to the next level. Every great person that went through something at the end, when his name was great, it was because it was a process.
absolutely. You hit it on the head. And that's the thing about it, is that we have to have patience in the process. We have to have patience in the process. Think about it. So often we end up in conditions that we're in It wasn't overnight. There were a series of decisions that we made. There was a series of bills that we missed paying. There was a series of things that we ran out of. And the accumulation of them, we now look and say, man, this is where I am. God, how I got here. Well, in reverse, it's the same way that we come out. We come
Mhm.
out by a series of decisions that we make, a series of things that we do. I often think about, even in my own life, what is limiting me? What is stopping me? Why is it that I'm so in love with the guaranteed every 2 week paycheck or whatever yours may be? At the end of the day, it's still 30 to 31 days in a month, right? Inside of that. Why am I restricting myself to saying, well, every 2 weeks, that's where it is? When really the possibility is that if I really stretch myself, if I really go out there, and really maximize what's inside of me, what's to stop me from being paid 2 and 3 times a week? What is to stop me from having abundant flow? Only thing that's there to stop me is my familiarity and comfort with what has always been. 2022 must be a year of discovery. It must be a year of pressing forward. It must be a year of the revitalization of dreams. It must be a year of recognizing purpose again. Some people have talked themselves out of their dreams, out of their purpose. Well, I'm just getting too old to deal with this stuff now. I'm just getting, no. You're not too old to deal with it. Listen, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, was way into his 60s before he ever did anything that we now know as Walmart. In other words, one might have said that it's retirement time. You ought to be looking at retiring. No, I'm saying it's not time to retire. It is time to be revived and to revitalize. Retire from your negative thinking. Retire from your tired perspective. Retire from your excuses. That's the only thing you need to retire from. This is the exact opportunity to think of this as a fresh wind. This is a new
Right,
day.
right,
This is
right.
a new dawning. It is a new year. I have an
Yes.
opportunity
And
right
the way
now.
to go is
This is the
up.
first month in the year. I am starting off right now. Listen, I don't need to broadcast it to everybody. And I don't understand that people get off on doing that on social media. Oh, this, no, baby. No. Your self affirmation doesn't have to go out to the whole world. It needs to start with you. Start with your accountability circle inside of that. Those are the things that you constantly remind yourself of every morning, whether it's something that you have by your mirror, by your window. You repeat those things, those affirmations. You do your declaration, you decree, and you declare, and then you do it. You do it. And when you do it, you just keep doing it. Let me say something. You won't have to post it. They will see it in due time. Why? In due season, you're going to reap if you faint not. In due season, they're going to see it. In due season, you're going to see it. It's nothing more powerful than doing that. And Dr. Val took us all these years to recognize that. A son of a man who grew gardens like it was nothing. And the thing I remember now as an adult that I did not even appreciate as a kid was I would see my father oftentimes prepare the soil. He would prepare the soil, break up the fallow ground, and all those things there. But then he took these seeds. These seeds, depending on what he was growing, was very small. But he would put them in the ground and cover them back up. And he would make sure that it had water and light. That's all. And although he buried them and put them up under the ground, the next day there wasn't a tomato. The next day wasn't greens. The next day it wasn't. But it's interesting. In a matter of time, in a matter of the process, we begin to see things coming up out of the ground. In other words, that which was hidden is now being revealed. And that's what I'm saying when we begin to nurture and tap into what's inside of us. If we do the right thing, if we water it and nurture, because whatever we nurture, that's what grows. Whatever we nurture, if we nurture productivity, we will produce. If we nurture, if you would, optimism, it will grow. But by the same token, if we're nurturing, if you would, pessimism, everything that could go wrong could go wrong. If we're nurturing Mercury law, we're going to inherit that. But we've got to shift our mindset, shift our energy, do the work, do the nurturing, and in due season, you're gonna reap if you faint not. You're gonna see it happen. You're gonna see things change. And it's nothing like seeing something happen and come from the ground, come from nowhere. Listen, it only was a matter of my process. Was I willing to go through my process? Am I willing to be as excited about my application as I am about just the ideal of doing something new?
Absolutely. That was powerful all in itself, Dr. J.
Well, I
Um,
tell you, they got me excited today. Listen, I'm 11 days in, and there's so much I'm doing already, and so much that we got to do, and I'm excited about it. Listen, more than hype, but doing what I know is right. Because you know what? If what you've done in the past haven't gotten you to where you need to, then you need to consider what you are to do now. Be willing to
mm.
make that second step. Have someone to help hold you accountable.
So you have
Have someone to check
transition.
in.
We've got to transition from where we've been to where we want to go.
Absolutely.
It begins with
Absolutely.
us. You're not defeated when someone beats you. You're defeated when you quit.
Absolutely. One of my most favorite sayings, I've always believe it's one of the most greatest philosophical quandaries of all time, is that I often say in any seminar I do, I often end it asking a question. The last time that you failed, did you fail because you stopped trying? Or did you stop trying because you failed?
Hmm.
And when we answer that question, it'll open up things. It'll open up your book, Unlimited Possibilities. Unlimited possibilities. Taking the limits off of what I deem possible. Taking the limits off of it. In other words, not rehearsing my limitations.
Hmm.
Not
Which is
re-emphasizing
easy to do.
my limit.
Easy
It
to
is so
do.
easy to do. We have to catch ourselves when you say, well, I'm not good at this. I'm not good. There was a list of things I kept telling myself all my life I wasn't good at. I wasn't good. I'm not good with my hands. I'm not good at, doing, manual labor. I'm not good until I realized I had said it so much that the very even desire, the thought to even try had left me. And then when the situation arose and I decided, well, let me try to fix this or let me try to do this. What I discovered is the very thing that all that time I said I'm not good at wasn't true. I just had not given it attention. I might have based one experience on my younger years and I made it a permanent condition in all of my life. Something I could not do. Think about it. When I was real little, I couldn't tie my shoes neither. But thank God I did learn to tie my shoes.
Hmm.
But what if I just taken that experience? Because, I'm not ashamed to say it, folks. I did not learn to tie my shoes until I was almost 7.5, 8 years old. But you know what? I learned. And what I'm saying to you, and I believe this with all my heart, I always say this: where God is calling us to is greater than where he's calling us from.
Mm.
It's greater than where he's calling us from. So everything behind me, I do believe that my latter days will be greater than my former. I believe that. Because what? There's a better version of me now than it was then. There's a better version of who I am now than I was then. Then it was zeal. Then it was just energy. Then it was just youth. Then it was just talent. But now, today, we're dealing with experience. We're dealing with wisdom. We're dealing with the sense of possibility. We're dealing now with proven experiences in our lives. And that's what we have to capitalize on. Baby, ain't no time to be retiring now. No time to be telling that. No, 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 no. It's not retiring time. It's revitalization time. It's reinvigoration time. It is renewal time. It is revival time. And that's the way we have to look at things. I'm not sitting waiting on anyone to do anything for me. I've got to do it. If it's
Got
going
to
to
do it.
be, it's up to me.
Yeah, you know what? We should have setbacks,
Yes.
depression,
Yes.
losses. Allow that to be your fuel that pushes you to the next level. You may be sitting up listening to us talking and say, well, you know what? I've never been through this. I've never been through that. But yet, I don't have a why I need to shift or why I need to get to the next level. Well, the fact that you're still here is your why.
Absolutely.
That is your why. Because there's more of you. There's more of you besides what you see in that mirror every day. There's so much more of that beautiful, handsome, wonderful you. And
Yeah.
don't rob us of knowing more about you. So I want to encourage you for 22. Let's shift. Let's shift into greatness. Let's shift into purpose. Let's shift in our lives to get to that next level. And when we get to that next level, we won't be getting in that level by ourselves. We're going to have an army coming behind us. Why? Because we're on assignment. There's
Absolutely.
people waiting on you. When you shift it into 22, there's people sitting waiting on you. Say, I'm waiting for you to resurrect. I'm waiting for you to come forth. I'm waiting for you to come forth with that business. I'm waiting for that song to come out. I'm waiting for that book. They're waiting on you here in
Absolutely.
2022. They are waiting on you. What are you going to do with the next few days or months that we have in this year? Got 12 months to do it. We're waiting
Absolutely.
on you. And all you have to do is take action. All you have
Yeah.
to do is shift. All
Yeah.
you have to do is reprogram, reposition your thought process to know that you're worth it.
Yes.
Because you
You know,
know the enemy, that enemy inside is always fighting you from getting into trying to be your greatest you. That enemy of that mind is always telling you, oh, you're not this, you're not that, people won't accept you. It's the way you look, the way you walk, the way you talk. Somebody always has an opinion of you.
mhm.
But the mere fact that you're still here means that
Yes.
there's greater. It's time for you to take a shift and get to this next level of your life because there's somebody waiting on you. I'm waiting on you
You better
because
believe
I
it.
want you to come back and leave a message for me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Say, Dr. Val, this was for me. Dr. Val, I'm taking that step. I'm moving forward. I'm not going to focus on my limitations. I'm going to focus on the possibilities. Dr. Val, this was for me.
Absolutely.
And because you'll do that, it'll be an action step. And I want you to go further than that. I want you to go to the website from thesoulafofawoman.com.
Yes.
And when you go to thesoulafofawoman.com, I want you to order my book, Unlimited Possibilities, Walking in
Yes.
Purpose. That will be a foundation. That will be a roadmap for you to get started.
Absolutely. You know, Dr. Val, you have served up some very important nuggets today. And one of the things that I know that we want to leave with the people tonight is the fact, begin now. Begin now. The enemy
Yes.
oftentimes to us pursuing dream is procrastination. You know,
Yes.
procrastination. We continue to take this vacation to this place called One Day Owl. You know, one day I'll do this. One day I'll do this. One day, no, no, no. Get off of that cruise ship to One Day Owl and let it begin today. Get off of that cruise ship. There's too many people that have gone to that destination of One Day Owl. One Day Owl. Well, it's a new year now. No, it's not One Day Owl. It's right now. I'm taking the very next step right now. If that means writing down what you need to do, write it down right now. If that means rehearsing it and putting it in the atmosphere, do it right now. If that means right now, begin to set in your calendar, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to form a routine. We know, sow a thought. You have a thought, reap an action. Now, sow an action, reap a habit. And when it becomes a habit, sow a habit, reap a character, sow a character, reap a life, sow a life, reap a destiny. It's a progression. But it begins when? Right now. It's 2022. It's up to you.
Absolutely. And I want to remind everyone to visit our website, www.jrthicklin.com. You can find out more about Dr. Thicklin and the
Mhm.
work he's doing in the community regarding domestic violence. And he's an advocate for the rights of the people, www.jrthicklin.com. And then you can also go to www.fromthesoulofAwoman.com. That's
Yes.
www.fromthesoulofAwoman.com. And I want to encourage you, invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Hot Topics
Yes.
from the Soul. That way you'll be able to see us in living color and not just by audio on some of the platforms, because we're also on Blog Talk Radio. So I want you
Yes.
to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Hot Topics from the Soul. And we appreciate you. And don't forget to go visit the website and purchase the book, Unlimited Possibilities, Walking in Purpose. That's Unlimited Possibilities, Walking in Purpose. You can get it digitally or you can get a hard copy and start your life today. The world is waiting on you. And remember, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is almost powerful beyond measure. There's a lot of power in you, and we're waiting on you to come forth. Good night, and God bless until next week. We want to see you on another Hot Topics from the Soul.